If you could go back in time and change one thing about the past, what would it be? I mean, you could go back in time and save a relative from dying. You could save humanity by stopping multiple viruses from infecting the earth. Or you could become infinitely rich by putting all your money into Bitcoin. But for me, I would go back in time and make sure that this tall cheating motherfucker never beat Chael Sonnen. Now, would this actually be what I'd use it for? No. But for the sake of this video, yes. And today, I'm going to be going over the biggest what-ifs in UFC history. Starting with... Now, in my opinion, if there's one person who embodied underrated striking, Zabit would take the cake. Because holy shit, what the hell were you doing against these kicks? Now, for those casuals out there who have no idea who this man is, let me explain. Zabit Magomedsharipov was an 18-1 fighter who came from Dagestan, Russia. And I know what you're already thinking. Oh, this guy must be a wrestler who only knows how to grapple without striking.
Man, shut your bitch ass.
If there's one thing I could tell you about this guy, he is not a grappler. Now, I'm not saying that he's bad at grappling. I'm just saying that his skills are shining in other places. Because holy shit, what the fuck is this? How does one even do this? On top of that, you have to see this guy's takedowns because oh my, they look sexy. Now I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but when I say this guy was good, he was good. Like before the UFC, when he fought in the Absolute Championship Barracuda, I don't know how to pronounce that, this guy beat every single one of his opponents by finishing them. And when he got into the UFC, this guy went undefeated, having a whole card named after him. However, though, due to ongoing issues with his immune system, he had to retire at age 30, right around the peak of every fighter's health, cutting his career short and ending the Zabit era. But what if this guy never were to actually retire? Well, at the time, he fought in the featherweight division, and Zabit was ranked 4th below Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, and some upside down guy. So Zabit was not far off from getting a championship. And before he retired, Max had already fought and beat Brian Ortega, and Volk had fought Max 2 times and beat him. So getting a title shot would not have been that surprising. Another question is, who would have won between Zabit and Volk? And in my opinion, Volk would have still won by decision. Now, I know I just spent this entire time hyping up Zabit to be this absolute killer, but Volk is just better, and there's nothing else I can say. Now, for those who don't know about this fight is considered one of the most cursed fights in the UFC. Let me explain. December 11, 2015. The fight gets booked to Ultimate Fighter 22. Khabib pulls out due to a rib injury. April 16, 2016. Fight gets booked on Fox 19. Tony pulls out due to a lung issue. March 4, 2017. A fight gets booked for the interim title. Khabib gets hospitalized trying to cut weight and was pulled out by doctors. April 7, 2018. Fight gets booked for the undisputed title. Tony trips over some wires and tears his LCL. April 18, 2020. Fight gets booked for the title. COVID, I don't even think I can say that word, happens, and Khabib is now stuck in Russia. It's almost as if there was an outside force keeping these two from ever fighting. And now when it comes to these two actually fighting, it's very 50-50. Tony Ferguson was an absolute beast back in the day. And I know I already explained this, so I'm just not going to explain it again. But when it comes to fighting Khabib, Tony was a perfect matchup. With his wacky-ass style that was able to dominate practically everyone, Khabib would have had a real problem. And the thing is, Tony also knows how to grapple too. But in my opinion, the plot armor always prevails.
I love you, you love me.
Now, in my opinion, this has to be one of the biggest what-ifs in UFC history, because holy shit, what could anybody do against this guy in his prime? When Fedor was fighting in Pride, this guy managed to beat Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, Frank Mir, and the GOAT Chael Sonnen, Mirko Cro Cop, and 40 other people. Like, when I was going back to double check how good this guy was, I wasn't expecting this long ass list of wins. And whenever this guy steps into the ring, it's a sort of fear that people felt when Mike Tyson fought. But the thing is, this guy was never in the UFC. According to Dana White, apparently Fedor took Dana to some secret island to discuss him fighting. But on the island, Fedor had no intention of signing with the UFC and just laughed it off. So instead of trying to prove himself as the greatest fighter of all time, he decided to spend the rest of his career in Strikeforce and Bellator, leaving us with a biggest question of all time: what would Fedor Emlienaenko be able to do if he were to be in the UFC? Well, at the time, this was during the whole Daniel Cormier and John Jones era, and if Fedor Emlienaenko fought them, it would have been a slaughter fest. Like, if John Jones is out there losing fights to Dominic Reyes, imagine the damage this Russian Hulk would have done. So in my opinion, this guy would have been the greatest fighter of all time, period. Bro, John Jones would have lost. I mean, it's really not that deep. Now, as the biggest Khabib fanboy out there, I can confidently say that if Khabib never retired, he would have still dominated the weight class until Islam got close to a championship. And only then, he would have retired. Charles Oliveira, easy work. Michael Chandler, easy work. Tony Ferguson, easy work. Khabib would have just never lost.
Who's coming? Huh? If you're coming right now, let me see it.
So unless you're like fucking 12 or have been living under a rock, chances are you've probably seen this fight before. And to be honest, this has to be one of the greatest last second clutch in sports history. Because throughout this fight, Kamaru Usman was giving belt to ass. But then in the 5th round, Leon's coach decided to give a top 3 speeches of all time, which gave Leon the strength he needed to lock the fuck in and knock Kamaru Usman out. And the story ends there. But the question is, what would have happened if Leon never managed to knock out Kamaru Usman? Well, in that case, Usman would have won that fight and then been forced to fight Belal Muhammad. And to be honest, Leon's arguably a harder matchup, meaning then he would have to go ahead and fight Jack Emlienaenko. And considering this is Kamaru Usman we're talking about, Jack would have gone BTA. And then from there, he would have most likely went up a weight class to fight DDP. Now, would this sequence of events actually happen in real life? No. But if it did, Kamaru Usman would have been top 5 of all time. And I'm not joking. Man, fuck Paddy Pimblett. Now, on a real note, I fully respect Paddy Pimblett for what he does. I just think that it's funny to hate on him, and I already went over this. Now, let's say Paddy managed to pull a Leon and knock out Gaethje, securing himself a fight with Ilia Topuria. Well, if this fight were to happen, Ilia's giving belts!